It began with something so discreet that most would have overlooked it, a quiet adjustment on the official royal family website. The kind of change that slips by unnoticed unless you are paying very close attention. For years, the site featured extensive biographies of every working royal, detailing their education, career milestones, and charitable patronages, crafted to present each as credible and respectable figures in the public eye. But on October 1st, 2025, those pages looked markedly different. Prince Harry and Meghan's profiles hadn't just been shortened, they had been stripped bare. Entire sections once dedicated to Meghan's academic background, her widely touted double major from Northwestern, her much-debated internship in Argentina, had vanished. Likewise, the less flattering reminders of Harry's troubled school years at Eton were gone. What remained was pared down to the most neutral descriptions. Meghan was identified simply as a former actress, best known for Suits, with a passing reference to her lifestyle blog. Harry's profile fared no better, reduced to a sterile outline of only the safest, least controversial facts. At first glance, this might resemble a routine digital cleanup, but a closer look suggests something more calculated. This was not about refreshing biographies, it was about risk management. The palace appears to acknowledge what many have long suspected. Meghan's carefully polished narrative contains inconsistencies, and Harry's education has been shadowed by controversy for years. Rather than defend or clarify those details, the monarchy chose a quieter route. They didn't issue corrections. They didn't release statements. They simply deleted the content altogether. The question is, why now? The answer may lie in Meghan's persistent attempts to reshape her personal history. She has often retold stories in ways that elevate her narrative, sometimes at odds with verifiable facts. Take her claim of attending a high school grad night at Disneyland in 1999. She has portrayed it as a cherished rite of passage. Yet her school confirmed no such event occurred that year. Not enough students signed up and the trip was canceled. If anyone went, it was self-funded and not a sanctioned school outing. Still, Meghan has repeated the story as though it were fact, with Harry even lending support during interviews. Then there is the so-called Argentina internship. Meghan has described her brief stay in Buenos Aires as a glamorous official placement with the U.S. Embassy. But those familiar with the circumstances paint a different picture. It wasn't an official posting, but rather an opportunity arranged through personal connections. The palace, it seems, has grown weary of defending narratives that may not withstand scrutiny. Instead of contesting or correcting them, it has quietly withdrawn its endorsement. The silence speaks louder than words. The truth behind Meghan's Argentina story is less glamorous than she suggests. Her brief placement came through her uncle, who arranged for her to shadow diplomats for a few weeks. The timing, however, is striking. Argentina in 2002 was in the grip of economic collapse, with riots erupting and the streets under strict security. Embassy staff weren't free to wander the city or attend tango nights, as Meghan has implied in interviews. Yet she often recounts the period as though it were a romantic semester abroad, filled with wine, Spanish lessons, and cultural exploration. The reality does not support the tale. The inconsistencies continue with her time at Northwestern University. Meghan has often said she graduated with a double major in theater and international relations. The issue is that Northwestern does not offer a major in international relations. The closest option is international studies. It may sound minor, but the distinction is significant. Beyond that, records indicate she may not have completed her final semester at all. She was not pictured in the 2003 yearbook alongside graduating classmates, and staff have stated she was not physically present at the time. These details do not align with her repeated claims of proudly earning a dual degree. While Meghan's embellishments have drawn much of the public attention, Harry's academic history has long raised questions as well. Rumors about his time at Eton have circulated for years. Reports suggest he struggled so severely that one of his teachers allegedly wrote an art essay on his behalf to help him pass. That teacher was later dismissed and went on to sue the school, claiming retaliation for speaking out. If the allegations are accurate, Harry should never have met the requirements to attend Sandhurst, the prestigious military academy. Yet, he was admitted. Thanks, it seems, to the influence of the monarchy ensuring the spare had a respectable academic record. Taken together, the palace's recent edits to their official website look far less like routine updates, and far more like a calculated withdrawal. It appears to be an effort to quietly distance the monarchy from claims that cannot withstand scrutiny. What remains are sanitized profiles of Harry and Meghan, two individuals once heralded as the future of the monarchy, now reduced to carefully edited outlines stripped of controversy. The irony, of course, is that this cleanup only fuels speculation. If there is truly nothing to hide, why remove so much? Why erase Meghan's supposed international career highlights or Harry's educational details while leaving Catherine and Sophie's biographies intact and celebratory? The answer is simple. The palace knows. Every detail left online is a detail that can be verified. And right now, fact-checking does not favor Meghan or Harry. Prince William's words at Windsor carried a weight that cut through the noise. Standing in the place his grandmother cherished most, he spoke openly about how deeply he missed her, describing Windsor as a reflection of her. It wasn't scripted or rehearsed. It wasn't polished PR. It was raw honesty from a grandson who adored his grandparents. That single moment revealed more about William's character than any official biography ever could. The contrast could not be more striking when set against Harry and Meghan's narratives, which begin to unravel the moment anyone looks too closely. William doesn't need to embellish. His credibility comes from truth, from tradition, from the quiet dignity he's inherited. But for Meghan and Harry, the pattern of exaggeration and spin has become a recurring problem. Take Meghan's oft-repeated claim of holding a dual degree. For years, it was touted as proof that she was more than just an actress, that she had academic credentials to match her ambition. Yet Northwestern itself has never confirmed that version of events. She certainly majored in theater, but the international relations angle appears to be a self-fashioned addition. And when alumni and staff quietly point out that she wasn't even on campus during her final semester, it's not a minor discrepancy. It's a direct contradiction of the story she's told. That narrative, carried on the official royal website for years as fact, has now quietly disappeared. Harry's academic record is no less complicated. His struggles at Eton were well known among those close to the school, but the monarchy needed him to appear capable and polished. Sandhurst, the military academy, does not accept candidates who fall short academically, yet Harry was admitted. The teacher who allegedly wrote his art essay to get him through later lost her job, raising enough legal challenge to receive compensation. That wasn't rumor. It was documented. And still, rather than address the matter, the institution closed ranks, protected Harry, and moved forward as though nothing had ever happened. Now, years later, under sharper scrutiny than ever before, those uncomfortable truths are being scrubbed away. And the timing is telling. These edits weren't random housekeeping. They arrived in 2025, right as Harry and Meghan continued pushing themselves into the cultural spotlight. Meghan doubled down on her version of high school nostalgia, recalling grad night trips that records show never took place. She leaned on her Argentina stories, painting herself as adventurous in a year when the country was facing riots and economic collapse. These aren't harmless embellishments. They create a carefully curated image of someone who doesn't withstand fact-checking. And the palace, seemingly tired of cleaning up the mess, has chosen a different approach. Instead of defending or correcting, they've stepped back. By erasing the questionable claims, they've left Harry and Meghan with sanitized, skeletal biographies, shadows of the figures they once seemed to represent. The palace's silence on these edits speaks louder than words. For an institution so deeply invested in image and legacy, choosing to erase details rather than defend them is a calculated move. It suggests that those details are indefensible. The contrast with other royals is telling. Catherine's biography remains detailed and intact. Her education at St. Andrews, her charitable initiatives, even her personal hobbies. Every line checks out. Sophie's path, from her career in PR to her role as the Duchess of Edinburgh, is similarly consistent. Their profiles stand because they can withstand scrutiny. That is the standard, and it's clear who meets it and who does not. Meghan's public identity was built on the image of being self-made, hardworking, and worldly. Her anecdotes about international internships, academic accomplishments, and adventurous travel were designed to reinforce that narrative of sophistication. Strip away those claims, however, and her story becomes simpler. A California girl who pursued acting, secured a role on Suits, and created a lifestyle blog. There's nothing disreputable about that. In fact, it's a respectable and grounded path. But for Meghan, it appears that wasn't enough. She felt the need to embellish, to gild her story with grandeur. Harry's narrative has followed a similar pattern. He cultivated the role of the royal rebel, tempered by military service, Afghanistan tours, and the enduring connection to Diana. For years, that was enough to make him relatable while still respectable. Yet beneath the surface, the cracks were always visible. His academic struggles, his wild party years, the occasional scandal. Once dismissed as youthful indiscretions, those flaws now appear more serious when paired with Meghan's questionable claims. Together, they present a pattern of image-making that collapses under scrutiny. The monarchy is not blind to this. They know public attention shifts quickly, but they also know the internet never forgets. Screenshots, interviews, and archive profiles exist, and fact-checkers are relentless. By paring down Harry and Meghan's biographies, the palace isn't rewriting history so much as reducing its vulnerabilities. The fewer claims that remain, the less material there is for critics to dismantle. It's a strategy of damage control, pure and simple, and therein lies the irony. This very act of trimming back their stories confirms what critics have long suggested. The fairy tale version of Harry and Meghan was never quite real. Their official profiles had been padded with half-truths, and once those details faced real scrutiny, they were quietly removed. What's left is a portrait the monarchy is prepared to defend, flat, sanitized, and safe. In a world where perception shapes power, safe is the royal family's strongest card. Safe in this context is just another way of saying, we don't trust this story anymore. The removal of Harry and Meghan's details from the royal family's website doesn't simply expose inconsistencies in their personal histories. It also highlights how carefully the monarchy manages perception. This is an institution built on image, tradition, and selective memory. For generations, the palace has known when to spotlight achievements and when to discreetly bury controversies. What makes this moment stand out is how openly the deletions signal a loss of confidence in two figures who once held enormous symbolic value. Harry was Diana's younger son, the beloved spare, whose humanity kept the monarchy approachable. Meghan was the glamorous outsider, a modernizing figure who promised diversity and progress. Together, they once looked poised to redefine the firm. Instead, they've become liabilities. The edits to their biographies make that reality clear. The contrast becomes even sharper when compared with others who have stepped back from official roles. Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice, for example, don't appear as working royals. But their absence raises no questions. They've never pretended to be more than they are, supportive family members who occasionally appear at events while living relatively ordinary lives. Their stories require no embellishment, no controversy, no cleanup. Harry and Meghan's removal, on the other hand, feels like scorched earth, an effort to erase not just details, but credibility. For Meghan, this is especially damaging because it strikes at the heart of the narrative she has tried to control for years. The Disneyland grad night that never happened. The embassy internship that insiders say was a favor, not a formal placement. The supposed international relations degree that Northwestern's program structure doesn't support. On their own, these could be dismissed as minor inconsistencies. Together, they form a pattern, one that suggests Meghan's story has been shaped more by ambition than accuracy. For Harry, the palace's edits reawaken old doubts about his academic record. The reports that he struggled at Eton, that a teacher allegedly wrote an essay to get him through, that Sandhurst bent its standards to admit him, all undermine the carefully maintained image of Harry as the capable soldier prince. His service, his tours in Afghanistan, and his time in uniform are real and earned him respect. Yet that respect rests on a foundation that looks less secure when the palace itself quietly removes the context. The message is subtle, but unmistakable. The monarchy no longer wants to defend these claims. By erasing them, they are signaling that the risks of standing by Harry and Meghan's version of events outweigh the rewards. The palace knows those details could resurface and explode in the public eye, and they have no desire to fight that battle again. For years, much of the press has avoided digging too deeply into the inconsistencies, either wary of being labeled unfair or because the Sussex narrative proved profitable. But cracks don't stay hidden forever. Former staff members, alumni, and independent researchers have begun filling in the blanks with information the couple likely hoped would remain undiscovered. Each new revelation gives critics easy ammunition. They simply point to the palace's own edits as evidence that the monarchy itself no longer endorses Harry and Meghan's version of events. The real impact of this is on public trust. For years, Harry and Meghan argued that they left the royal family because of racism, mistreatment, and a lack of institutional support. There is truth to parts of that story. The palace has a long history of protecting the crown before protecting individuals. But when their personal narratives unravel under scrutiny, it undermines the strength of their larger accusations. If a resume can be embellished, how much faith should the public place in their broader claims? That lingering doubt is not going away. The palace, meanwhile, is playing the long game. They don't need to issue rebuttals or engage in open conflict with the Sussexes. Time, they believe, will do the work for them. By stripping the biographies, they're sending a quiet but powerful signal to future readers, researchers, and journalists. Only the sanitized version of Harry and Meghan is worth remembering. What isn't written down won't be preserved. It's a strategy the institution has used before, often with success, but the digital age makes this case different. Screenshots circulate endlessly, timelines are dissected on YouTube, and every inconsistency is archived somewhere online. The monarchy can edit its own site, but it cannot erase the internet. What remains is a stark portrait of two lives redefined by relentless scrutiny. Meghan wanted to be seen as worldly, intellectual, and exceptional, but the record shows a determined actress with modest beginnings who succeeded through persistence and connections. Harry wanted to be remembered as the soldier prince, but questions about his path to Sandhurst and beyond expose a man shaped as much by privilege as by effort. None of this makes them villains. It makes them human. The problem is that instead of owning that humanity, they tried to sell a myth. And when myths unravel, they rarely recover. In the end, the royal website's edits are more than digital housekeeping. They are a warning. The monarchy has pulled back its safety net, leaving Harry and Meghan to stand on their own stories. Without the institution reinforcing their narrative, those stories must stand or fall on their own.